Good afternoon, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How are you doing today? This is the Gaither Show, live from downtown North. We're right about 2 miles away from Bryant-Denny Stadium. You're watching, you're listening to us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on Amazon. This is the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You have made it to a new week. It's Thanksgiving week. Hopefully you guys have great plans with your families this week and are able to enjoy some family time, step away from the office just a little bit and get some time enjoying the holiday that is upon us, that is ahead. We had a lot of fun, a great weekend around here at BamaCentral, and you can follow it all at BamaCentral.com. Make sure you follow us on X, on Twitter at BamaCentral. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at Alabama Crimson Tide on Sports Illustrated. You can find all of our articles, our great work right there. We had a blast this weekend. We had a blast this weekend covering Alabama's 2 victories. Alabama had a victory in football, defeating Chattanooga 66-10, and defeating Mercer in basketball 98-67. So we will start right there on our program by recapping both of those different games. Obviously, football is king, and then basketball as well. We'll talk Alabama football and basketball. We will set up the rest of the week. We'll do a little SEC notes as well, as it was an interesting weekend around the SEC. We're hopefully going to have a fun week, a blast of a week right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com. You can follow me on all the social media machines at Joe Gaither 6. Send me your comments, your questions, queries, and complaints right there to any of your favorite social medias at Joe Gaither 6. All right, so you made it. You are now 11-1, right? Yeah, 11-1 for the 10-1. Ooh, got a little ahead of ourselves. You're now 10-1 on the season, Alabama, after defeating UTC 66-10 over the weekend. And yeah, come on, this was not much of a game. It never was going to be much of a game. Or, hard to really take a whole lot of things away from this game. What do we notice? From this game? First off, the one of the biggest look. Alabama was never going to be in danger in this ball game, even if it was 31-3, even if it was 35-10, somewhere in that range. UTC did not have even an inkling of enough talent, of enough depth to contend or to compete with Alabama. And to throw on top of that circumstance, UTC decided to hold out its starting quarterback. Artopoulos, Chase Artopoulos. We heard about him all week, 4-year transfer. He ends up not able to go, shoulder injury. And as we continue this conversation, we want to congratulate our friends, the UTC Mocs, for qualifying for the FCS playoffs. So does that go on Alabama's resume? Alabama's playoff resume, defeated one playoff team already this year? No. So look, UTC held out Chase Artopoulos. They held him out because they thought they were going to make the playoffs as an at-large, and they did make the playoffs as an at-large. So they played Luke Schomburg at quarterback, and Luke Schomburg, making his very first start, his very first college start. How about that? You want to make your first college football start? Yeah, coach, I'm ready. Well, we're going down to Bryant-Denny Stadium. You're going to be playing in front of 100,000 people and against the vaunted Alabama defense. Well, Luke Schomburg, all right, sorry, you did as good as you could have, Luke, but just wasn't able to really get anything going with the Mocs offense. Alabama comes away with what? 5 straight stops? 5 straight stops. Is that what I had? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 straight stops on defense. And really, their yardage, 2 plus 20 is 22, plus 6 is 28, plus 2 is 13, is 30. So they amassed 43 yards of offense across their first 5 drives, punted the first 4 times, and threw an interception on the 5th drive. Luke Schomburg for the day, admirable day, 10 of 21, 107 yards with the interception, right at 50% completion rate. Just wasn't ever able to get UTC going offensively on the day. And look, there's not going to be much we talk about. Oh, thank you so much for commenting. There's not going to be much we're going to comment about this game. It was a cupcake game. Alabama ate their cupcake and handled it well. And look, everybody gets to go home happy because no major injuries for the day for Alabama. And on the flip side, just from a technical standpoint, just from an Alabama football standpoint, you love seeing Alabama come out and really just say, you know what? We know UTC doesn't belong on the field with us. We are going to act as such and go 5 straight stops from the defensive end, scoring 7 touchdowns on the first 9 drives of the game, eight scoring drives of the first 9 drives. Ended up going to the locker room at 31-3? Is that at 31-7 into halftime? So look, took care of business, came out of the locker room and kept it rolling. A lot of fun to be there in Bryant-Denny Stadium. A lot of fun to watch the game, celebrate the last weekend here in Tuscaloosa, the last football weekend here in Tuscaloosa. All right, so we go over to our comments. Cornelius Billups. Bama showed that they have a rhythm right now. They are in a groove. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle Auburn in Auburn. Absolutely. You can comment just like Cornelius is right here on Facebook with our friend Everett. Everett, I love your show. Everett, I love you. Thank you so much for watching and joining us each and every day. Appreciate everybody who jumps in and joins us on the comment side. All right, so yeah, there's not a whole lot to say, well, this was great. That was terrible. Well, what's the biggest problem? The biggest problem was you didn't score 100% of the possessions, maybe, I guess. Look, everybody played well. The offensive line played well. You ended up with 1 sack for the entire day. Split box, where's my stats there? I've got a bunch of stats all over the place. Oh, that's basketball, Joe. That's why you're not in the right place. Yeah, so you how many sacks did they end up? 1. They only had one sack on the day. I think it was on the 2nd or 3rd drive. I think I played a fine game. What else? What do you want to say about a 66-10 win over Chattanooga? Yay, good job. You racked up 500 yards of offense. You held them under 300 yards of offense. I mean, UTC, this is not the school that you're going to be. This is not the school that you're going to be held up against as the standard. This is not who you're going to be judged against. You beat UTC, and all my buddies who don't like Alabama rolled their eyes and said, "Let us know when you play somebody decent, somebody good." All right, Chris Braswell got called for a targeting call in the game. Chris Braswell got called for targeting in the game. Look, it's just one of those things. Luke Schomburg didn't have a clue what the heck he was doing in that moment. Chris Braswell tried to make the tackle, and yeah, just an unfortunate thing that happened in his senior day. Hopefully, Coach Saban talking about coaching points. We're going to get those things corrected, as we've now had 2 out of 3 weeks where defensive ends have been flagged for roughing the passer and questioned about targeting or not. We don't want that to be an issue going forward as you're playing these bigger and better opponents. Yeah, what do I have? Offense looked like we wanted to check UTC stats. Okay. Look, Burton was incredible. It was just a matter of you played a team that didn't belong on the field with you. They weren't near as physical as you were. Obviously, Alabama was able to push them around throughout the entire game. You look through the rushing stats, Alabama taking care of business on the ground, ran for 315 yards in the day. Not a whole lot to talk about. Okay, Cornelius does bring up a great topic. We learned that we have another capable punt returner. Oh, yeah. If I never see Kool-Aid McKinstry return another punt, that will be that will be a great day. Those will be great days for me. Kool-Aid, look, we all know that Kool-Aid is an incredibly talented cornerback, and I do think he's incredibly talented with the ball in his hands. I don't know what's gotten into him this year. I don't know what's gotten into Kool-Aid this year, whether it was an early year fumble, whether it was an early year muffing the punt. I think he muffed a punt against USF, or whether it was I don't want to get hurt returning kicks, or I'm better off not returning kicks and just letting the offense pick up where they are. I don't understand whether it was a lack of confidence issue, but I think you're probably done seeing Kool-Aid McKinstry returning kicks for the Crimson Tide. Nick Saban throwing Caleb Downs out there, and Caleb Downs with an beautiful 85-yard punt return for a touchdown. But think about it. I mean, last year against UL Monroe, UL Lafayette, you had 3 or 4 different guys return punts in that game, scoring touchdowns as well. So, look, Alabama has a lot of athletes, and that's probably why I'm so confused, why I've been so perplexed at why you stick with Kool-Aid McKinstry and when it really wasn't giving you much, from a punt returner standpoint. This past week probably was the straw that broke Coach Saban's back with the fumble on the second punt return. Now Jam Miller jumping in there and saving the possession and not having a turnover. But yeah, Cornelius, you got to. At this point, you have played 11 games. You're about to be in crunch time. Well, you've been in crunch time, but you're about to be in real crunch time. Auburn on deck, then Georgia. You got to throw out reliable punt returners. You can't have a punt returner who's not going to catch the ball, who's going to run with the football carelessly, who's going to make fair catches when they should be returning the ball, make returns when they should be fair catching. You just have seen a bevy of bad decisions from Kool-Aid this season, and finally Coach Saban going to Caleb Downs, I think was a strong decision. I think it's good, and I'm hopeful that he will stick with that decision the rest of the season as you're going down to Auburn and beyond into postseason. Because look, Kool-Aid has shown he doesn't seem like he has any interest in being a punt returner anymore. I guess it's all cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's a hell of a cornerback. And so it's going to be interesting to see how Caleb Downs does in that role, or if Coach Saban turns it over to Isaiah Bond or not. Coach Saban using both of those names in his post-game press conference, as these are the next names up. Obviously, you saw Caleb Downs. I mean, Caleb Downs, how special of a football player has he been this year? I think if he doesn't win your Sean Alexander Freshman of the Year, you should stop giving the award out. He's been such an impactful player on defense. Yes, people they can think back to the Texas game and think back to him giving up some touchdown passes, but he has just been an all-world, improving every single week, and then just shows, hey, I can play safety, I can play star, I can also punt return at a high level. He's just one of those football players. You got to get him out there on the field, find a place for him, and say, hey, man, go play. So Caleb Downs has been such a great addition to this football team. Have been a lot of fun to see. Let's talk about another 2 freshmen. You saw Richard Young and you saw Justice Haynes. I think that, the Justice Haynes impactful in this offense project, has been not what you wanted to see throughout the year. But Justice Haynes getting into the end zone twice over the weekend. 2 rushing touchdowns, 5 carries, 42 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Justice Haynes. I think it's just going to be one of those situations with Justice that, as long as we're getting what we're getting out of Roydell and out of Jace McClellan, there's no real reason to utilize Justice. But it's been interesting the last 2 weeks to see Jam Miller get more and more run. I think that you really just need to continue to utilize every back that you have, because you've got 4 really strong backs with Justice and Jam and Jace and Roydell. I really wish Roydell had a J name as well. John Williams, Jermaine Williams, give him a J name as well. Justice, Jam, Jace, throw out another J name with Williams as well. But no, Alabama's running backs have been stupidly loaded throughout all year long, and I know that everybody wanted to see more out of Justice Haynes throughout the year. But count your blessings. Count your blessing that you didn't need to see him more this year because of the health and that Jace and Roydell both enjoyed throughout the whole year. Now you're going into the final week of the year. Everybody knows, huge week. Auburn is on deck, and Alabama already up to 13.5, 14.5 point favorite after Auburn's big old victory Oh, no, no, no. Everybody ate their cupcake this week except for the Auburn Tigers. Oh, my gosh. Auburn brings in New Mexico State, pays them $1.8 million, and New Mexico State leaves with the money and the victory. And not just a last minute kick, driving down the end, fluky play. No, New Mexico State beat the brakes off of Auburn. They beat them 31-10. They beat them from the very start of the game to the end of the game. Auburn's defense could not get a stop on the Aggies. And so what is that going to mean for this week? Obviously, Auburn is already bowl eligible. And obviously, Auburn knows they can ruin Alabama's season with a big old victory this weekend over in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Look, everybody this whole year, anytime you bring up Alabama and Auburn playing in Auburn, everybody immediately jumps to, well, Joe, that's voodoo in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Look, I know crazy things have happened there. It's the 10-year anniversary. I think today is the 10-year anniversary of the Kick Six. But no, I don't really think that, weird things happen down there. Well, sometimes Alabama just doesn't play well. Sometimes Auburn just plays better. Yes, you do get the Mac Jones interception off the back of Najee Harris, goes 99 yards, and it's just a painful day. But as Coach Saban said about an hour and change ago in the Mailer Stone media room, usually the better team has always won this game. Now, look, Alabama's going down to Auburn. 2 years ago, you go down to Auburn with Bryce Young and Will Anderson. I think they had the exact same record, 6-5 for Auburn at that point. And TJ Finley was not good, and Brian Harsin not good. But they took you to 4 overtimes. 4 overtimes. Now, I do think that this team may not be as talented. Alabama. This Alabama team may not be as talented as the team that went down there 2 years ago, but the maturity of this year's team from top to bottom. Sure, you don't have Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Okay, you don't have a Heisman Trophy winner and basically the best defensive player in the country on each side of the ball. But you do have you got a damn good offense. And maybe Dallas Turner is the best defensive player in the country. If he's not, maybe Kool-Aid McKinstry could be. Okay, let's just forget that side of the conversation. The maturity of this year's team from very top to very bottom is so much stronger than it was 2 years ago. Now, does that mean that 2 years ago they didn't take it? No, I'm sure they did take it seriously against Auburn, but you don't have Chris Owens playing right tackle, giving up all kinds of pressures. There was no real. You think back to that season 2 years ago. You had Chris Owens playing right tackle, and all year long you were thinking about what can we do about right tackle? What can we do about the offensive line situation? And you never really were able to fix it. This year, you've thrown in, you've thrown out there different guys at different points in time. You've thrown out Elijah Pritchett, you've thrown out Jaden Roberts, you've thrown out TJ Ferguson. 3 different guys have gotten more run on this year's offensive line to find the right chemistry. And at this point, you have found the right chemistry with Proctor, Booker, McLaughlin, Roberts, and Latham from left to right. Now, I think it's taken longer than you wanted to, but the fact of the matter is the offensive line is a lot stronger than it was 2 years ago. And I love you, Brian Robinson. I do love you, B-Rob, but you've got much better running back production than you had 2 seasons ago. All right, you don't have John Mechie and Jamison Williams playing wide receiver for you than you did 2 years ago, but you might be a good bit deeper at wide receiver. You lost Williams and Mechie, and you basically fell off the face of the cliff 2 seasons ago. This year, you don't want to lose anybody, obviously, but behind Burton and Bond, you've got behind Burton and Bond, you've got Brooks and Benson, and you've got other receivers as well, Kendrick Law as well. I think this year's team is a lot more mature, a lot more prepared for a hard environment. This year's team's gone over to A&M and played and ruined the A&M season really on that single day. You remember going to LSU last year and to Tennessee last year, tough environments. You played in tough environments before. Biggest issue is, do you continue the momentum? My man Cornelius earlier talking about rhythm and momentum. This past week's game with UTC, why do I not want to talk about it? Because it doesn't matter as far as this guy earned a starting position, or that guy might be carving out a role, or this guy might be messing up. Okay, the only thing in that discussion is Kool-Aid losing his punt returner role. The best thing about this weekend was exactly what Cornelius was saying: rhythm, momentum. You continue to sustain what you have been building really since the Tennessee week. I mean, yeah, the Tennessee at halftime. Yeah, since the Tennessee at halftime, you have seen this football team play about as intensely as really as you've seen Alabama in 3 years, in my opinion, in probably 3 years. And so you built through a second half of Tennessee. Okay, you're playing 2 weeks. You get 2 weeks off. You play LSU. Yeah, okay. You might want to talk about, oh, you gave up 28 points. Well, come on, LSU. They give scholarships as well. And yes, Jaden Daniels should be your Heisman Trophy winner after 8 touchdowns this past weekend. Like, they give scholarships as well, but you end up beating the brakes off of LSU. 42-28. So you win by 14. Then you go to Kentucky and you think, oh, here's a chance for a letdown. Here's a chance for a letdown. No, Alabama jumps onto Kentucky, beats the brakes off of Kentucky, and handles their business against an inferior opponent. Okay, well, here's another chance for a letdown. Here's a chance for a UTC to sneak up on them, to hang in the game longer than they need to. No, this Alabama team says, we're more mature than that. Sure, we don't have Bryce Young, probably the best quarterback prospect that Alabama has ever had. Sure, there's no John Mechie and Jamison Williams out there. Okay, well, it's all right, no problem. What you do have is a group of, I don't want to say 22 because it's definitely deeper than the starters. You have a group of 40, 50, 65 guys who believe in each other, who believe in each other and what they've grown, the work that they put in. And so, all right, you got UTC coming in at 11 o'clock on senior day. Who gives a bleep? They're going to beat them anyways. Oh, we can sleepwalk through it. Did they sleepwalk? No, they didn't sleepwalk through it. They beat the ever-living brakes off of them. It went out and got 5 straight stops. The offense scored on 4 straight possessions before getting stopped. Was it the 4 straight possessions before getting stopped? 3 straight possessions before getting stopped. And they punted, and then they went, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more possessions in a row, scoring without getting stopped. That's handling your business. That's being mature. Look, you can be in a fight, in a wrestling match. You can be in any sort of physical contest. And when you're playing inferior opponents, you just need to take care of it. You're in a tennis match. You let your opponent stay in it. It gives them confidence. This year's Alabama football team, I'm confident going down to Jordan-Hare. I'm confident going not because, I do think Auburn is bad. I do. And not because I think Alabama is good. I do think Alabama is good. And not because I don't believe in Jordan-Hare voodoo. I don't really believe in the Jordan-Hare voodoo. I do think it's absolutely a very difficult place to play and one of the top 3, maybe 4 environments in the SEC. But my confidence in going down to Auburn and having Alabama really probably comfortably win is Alabama's maturity this year. I think Alabama is going to be ready from the very, very jump. Now, I think that his team just is realizing each moment, each Saturday is a moment to play with one another. It's a moment to play together, and it's a moment to showcase all the work that they've been putting in. Look, I'd love to have a Jamison Williams or a John Mechie on this team. Do you think that they both start over Jermaine Burton and Isaiah Bond? Probably so. No disrespect to you, Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton, but you've got more talent on the team that you had 2 years ago. Do I think that Bryce Young is a better quarterback than Jalen Milroe? Yes, I do. But I have more confidence in Jalen Milroe right now going into this weekend at Auburn than I did with Bryce Young 2 years ago. And not because, look, you give me either quarterback, I'm taking Bryce Young all day and twice on Sunday. But the way that Jalen has led, it just seems like everybody bought into one another, bought into this is what we have to do. What do we have to do? Oh, we got to control the line of scrimmage. Oh, we have to run the offense efficiently. Oh, we have to protect the football. Oh, even the penalties, the discipline, as the penalties have gone down and down and down and down each and every week with this football team. I know a lot of Tennessee fans were upset at the lack of live ball penalties for Alabama, but I really just have a lot more trust in this year's football team than I did. And maybe, honestly, it might have something to do with I believe in Deontay Lawson's leadership in the middle more than I believed in Henry To'oTo'o's leadership in the middle. I know To'oTo'o, big-time transfer out of Tennessee and was a recruit that Alabama wanted, but just seemed a lot physically outmatched, physically outmatched Oh, physically, I'm on the inside of the defense. Excuse me, I had a text message that distracted me, and I lost my train of thought. No, I think look, this defense at all three levels handles itself in a more mature place. I think they're more creative than they were at any point under Pete Golding. Give you a lot of credit, Kevin Steele. So I have a lot of confidence in this year's team. I have a lot of confidence going down to Auburn and winning. Now we'll watch more Auburn film the rest of the week and decide what number we think that's going to play out to on Saturday. But I'm very confident in this year's team, not just because Auburn lost last week. Cornelius had another comment on Auburn losing. To me, it looked like they gave up, and that's concerning. And yes, I do think that is what it looked like. And if you're Auburn, and if you want to go into this "did they give up" train of thought, I want to ask you that same thing about Kentucky. I want to ask you that same thing about Colorado, and I want to ask you what the common theme is between those three schools: Auburn, Kentucky, Colorado. What's the common theme? Kentucky and Auburn both have first-year head coaches. All right, Kentucky doesn't, so that's not the common theme. What's the common theme? The common theme between the three programs, Kentucky, Auburn, and Colorado, was this. All three coaches at different points during the season have come out and said, oh, we need to get better players in here. Now, Kentucky's saying it after the Georgia game. What's the difference between you, Kentucky, and Georgia? Oh, talent. They've got a lot more talent than we do. We've got to – our fans need to donate more money if they want to get the same talent in. Auburn, you go listen to Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze has said all year long, we're just going to have to work with what we've got. We don't have much talent in the cupboard. We don't have much talent in the cupboard. We're going to work with what we've got. We've got to just stick with us and recruit better players in the future. Same thing, Colorado, Deion Sanders. The first day he walks in, hey, half of you guys got to hit the transfer portal because you're no good. And then he comes out and, he does the transfer portal all throughout the summer. Then it comes out, well, we just got to get new offensive linemen. His son's getting beat up. We just got to get new offensive linemen. Whether it's in the portal, we got to recruit new offensive linemen. So I ask you guys, the listener, in all three instances, all right, I was an average Andy football player, very, very average high school football player. All right, one thing that did take me from average to slightly above average was my coach saying, Joe, I believe in you. Joe, you can do this. Joe, you can whip this guy. Or Joe, you can make that play. All right, whether he was lying to me or not, that extra bit of confidence. I wonder, and I would ask you guys, what's the value in coming out in public and say, you know what, we just got to do a better job recruiting. We've got to recruit better Jimmies and Joes. We've got to recruit better athletes, so we can compete with the Georgias, with the Alabamas, with the, whoever, USC or Oregon. You talk about the Deion Sanders portion of this conversation. To me, I mean, whether it's true or not, Hugh Freeze in this instance, whether it's true or not that you don't have a quarterback, that you need to recruit a quarterback, you got to recruit better wide receivers because their receiver play is awful. Their receiver play is terrible. Auburn on offense are one of the worst offenses that you'll see this year. They just don't have a whole lot of talent. You saw the same thing last year. They didn't have a whole lot of talent. Robbie Ashford, they ran for 300 yards, but it was really Alabama like, yeah, we'll give up the run, but you're not going to throw the football on us. And Alabama ended up with a very comfortable win over Auburn. I think it's going to look very similar this year. They're not going to be able to throw the football on you. So backtrack just a little bit. What's the value for Hugh Freeze saying, we got to get better players in here. We got to get better receivers in here. We got to get better quarterbacks in here. We got to get more talent into the fold here at Auburn. Oh, what's it done? And none of the players have had any close. I mean, your last close game was really against a good team, was against Georgia. You played Georgia close. Other than that, you got your brains beat in by LSU. Yeah, you beat Arkansas, great. You beat Mississippi, great. You beat Vanderbilt, great. Who cares? Three of the worst teams in the league. You hung in there with Ole Miss, but you lost Ole Miss. Like, ever since we need to get better players, you lost all four good teams. You lost to A&M, to Georgia, LSU, and Ole Miss, Auburn. It seems like, going back to Cornelius' comment, that the players are giving up. Same thing with Mark Stoops. You go and you lose to South Carolina. How in the heck are you? Look, Kentucky's lost like 4 of the last 5 games. What's the value in, look, even if let's just hypothetically say the Alabama quarterbacks, all of them were no good. None of them were any good. Whether it was Milroe, Simpson, Lonergan, whoever, Buckner, Holstein, doesn't matter. Just for the sake of conversation, that they're no good. What benefit would it be for Nick Saban to come out and say, well, we just got to go out and find a new quarterback in the offseason? We would all know that might be the case. That might be the plan. The course of action might be. Like, think about it. We all knew that you're looking for a new left tackle this year at Alabama. It was obvious, just the way the tea leaves lined up. But Coach Saban, I believe in Elijah Pritchett. I believe in the guys we're going to recruit. Like, you put it out there into public. I believe in Jalen Milroe. I believe in Tyler Buckner. I believe in Ty Simpson. Everybody's doing good in practice. And eventually you have a starting quarterback. Like, there's nothing good that comes out by saying, you know what, that Joe Gaither, he really stinks, and we just really got to get a better talk show host on this show. We just really got, and if that's the truth, that's the truth. That's fine. But if for my boss to sit here and if he were to come out and say, you know what, Joe, you just stink at your show, but I need you to go out and do it anyways. I need you to go out and do it anyways. Give it your best. But I don't believe in you. I don't think you do a good job. You don't have very many listeners, and nobody finds you entertaining. It would not make me want to continue to do this job. It would not make me want to continue to try my best to be entertaining, to try my best to give factual information. Like, look, Hugh Freeze, Mark Stoops, and Deion Sanders totally zapped all will to work, all motivation to try hard for their team by coming out in the media and saying, well, we just got to recruit better. You guys can help us by donating to the NIL fund so we can buy good players like Georgia's got. I don't know. I don't think that's a very good strategy, even if it is true. Like, look, Mark, you can believe that. Mark Stoops, go tell your athletic director. Well, we just got to do a better job. We lost out on the 4-star, the 5-star. Hugh Freeze, go tell the Tiger Club that. That's fine. But don't put it out there in public media. Don't put it out there where everybody knows that that's the narrative. I think you do your players a disservice. Or wait until the end of the year. Well, the season's over. We're 7-6. We just won the Gasparilla Bowl, and you know what? We just got to do a real good job recruiting this year because the players that we had weren't quite good enough. We got to do a better job recruiting and in the portal. In the offseason, I think that's fine. But while you're in season, Deion Sanders, Hugh Freeze, and Mark Stoops, I think they all three seen the effects and seen the consequences of bad-mouthing and poor-mouthing their own roster. And I think this past weekend's 31-10 loss to New Mexico State is just a symptom. Is just an issue, just a symptom of poor mouthing your own roster. So I'm confident in Alabama going down to Auburn this weekend. We'll continue to talk about it on the show all week long. We'll try to get some Auburn guests. We already reached out to a couple of people. We'll see who we can pull in from the Auburn side of things. We'll be talking to a very prominent former Alabama basketball player this week. I'm very excited to talk to Trevor Relaford. I believe we'll talk to him on Wednesday morning. Try to put that out either Wednesday afternoon or Thursday for Thanksgiving. We'll talk to Trevor Relaford about his career, about the early part of the Alabama basketball season, and much more. I believe we'll do that on Wednesday morning. I was in Coleman Coliseum on Friday to watch Alabama take down Mercer. Oh my gosh, the Alabama basketball sky is falling. They didn't break 100 points. Oh my gosh, they stink. They're terrible. No, this team moving up to number 15 in the coaches poll, number 17 in the AP poll for the new week. Alabama is going to be taking on Ohio State on Friday. Ohio State, and then either Oregon or Santa Clara on Saturday. So it's going to be a big weekend for Alabama basketball ahead. We're going to talk to Trevor Relaford on Wednesday about the season, about his career, kind of about what he's got going on in general anyways, because I loved Trevor Relaford when I was in school. Don't tell everybody about that, but I did have a background of Relaford hitting the half-court shot against Georgia on my phone background for quite some time. So I'm very excited to talk to Trevor Relaford, on Wednesday. Look, our takeaways from Friday's basketball game. Mark Sears led the team in scoring. What do you have? 24, I think it was. Let me pull up my sheet right here. Yeah, 24 for Mark Sears. And then you had Aaron Estrada with 10, Nick Pringle with 14, Jaron Stevenson with 14, and Grant Nelson with 5. So you hear, oh no, Nelson and Estrada didn't get to double digits. Well, Estrada got himself into early foul trouble, and Mark Sears decided to really pick up the slack and drive the Alabama offense. Grant Nelson didn't really try, in my opinion, to assert himself. It was only 2 of 5 from the floor, so it wasn't like he was shooting Alabama out of the game on the offensive end by any stretch of the imagination. He did contribute with 7 rebounds, and an assist. So, look, I think this Alabama team is still in its infancy of its new season. Yeah, you didn't hit 100 points, boo-hoo, but they have shown they're going to be something to reckon with the rest of the year. Now, look, Friday's game against Ohio State, 6 o'clock, I believe. It's going to be a huge one for Alabama because you've beaten these 4 kind of not so much cupcakes because they weren't terrible teams, but they weren't great teams. They're not SEC teams. They're not top 25 teams. I'll say that. So you beat these 4 teams. You beat Morehead State, Mercer. You beat Morehead State, Mercer, Indiana State, and South Alabama. Great, good job. And always much better to win than to lose. And you cleared 100 points in 3 out of the 4 games. You played good defense, really in one. The South Alabama game, you played really great defense. The other 3 games, you played okay. You played pretty good defense on Friday, but not as good as you played on Monday against South Alabama. You want to see the defensive improvement continue. It's going to be very important to put the defensive intensity on display against better opponents like Ohio State, like Oregon, and Santa Clara. They're going to be much tougher challenges. They're all 3 top 100 KenPom teams. I think they're all 3 top 50 KenPom teams as well. Alabama's moved up, to 5 in KenPom. So look, the analytics love what this Alabama Crimson Tide team is doing. I love what they're doing too. I know that I'm very much a basketball homer, very much glasses on when it comes to Alabama basketball. I try to be less so when it comes to football, but I think this team's got a lot of the makings. Look, Katie Wyndham asked me on Friday, is this team better offensively, the best offensive team that Nate Oates has ever had? I don't see how you can put another team up there. I mean, yeah, last year's team with Brandon Miller was incredible, absolutely incredible. But you did still have stretches where Brandon wasn't hitting, and maybe Mark wasn't hitting. JQ was maybe turning the basketball over. You needed a little extra last year on the team as far as depth goes. I think you've got amazing depth with this year's basketball roster. I'm very, very excited about where this team is going to be at the end of the year. I encourage you guys, look, Friday night is going to be Ohio State on TV, CBS Sports Network, going to be on one of those alternate channels both nights, Friday and Saturday night. It's going to be on one of those alternate channels. Going to have to keep up with it on the radio with Crimson Tide Sports Network. We heard from Brian Pastic last week on the program. If you missed Brian, we want to encourage you to go back and listen to those shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Amazon, or watch them again on BamaCentral's YouTube channel, or you can find me at Joe Gaither 6 and find them on my Facebook or Twitter at Joe Gaither 6 for any of these shows that you might have missed. We appreciate Brian Pastic joining us last week to talk about the infant stages of this year's basketball season. All right, so what else? Is that going to be it for our show today? Look, we're going to pay attention to college football rankings get dropped tomorrow. Again, new rankings get dropped. I don't think Alabama's going to get moved up. You have such small margins. Nobody's lost ahead of them. I'm starting to get anxious. I'm starting to get anxious that Alabama, even if Alabama wins against Auburn and wins against Georgia, there's no way you're going to leave Alabama out, is there? You beat Auburn, who's too stinky. I'm not gonna try to shine that turd. But if you beat undefeated Georgia, number 1 team in the country, Georgia, you gotta let the Crimson Tide in, right? I'm starting to get nervous. I'm starting to get very nervous that Alabama is going to be left on the outside looking in. And Crimson Tide fans, will you be satisfied? Will you be satisfied if your biggest moniker, if your biggest maybe gold star this year is Gold Star, knocked Georgia out of the playoffs? Because that might be the biggest gold star that you have right now. Look, if it ends up, you beat Georgia, you knock them out of the playoffs, you leave the playoffs with Ohio State, with Washington, with Texas, and with Florida State. Great, you've knocked out Georgia, awesome, but you didn't get in yourselves. Oh, gosh, are you going to be satisfied if the Alabama Crimson Tide's biggest gold star for this season is prevented Georgia from three-peating? Oh, I mean, yeah, I guess that's a good thing. It is a good thing, but you can't hang that banner in Bryant-Denny Stadium. You can't build that statue. You can't make that mark on the Walk of Champions. I don't know. That would feel very, very bittersweet considering how much this football team has grown throughout the entire season. So, we're going to keep up with it the rest of the week. We'll be live again tomorrow right here on the Joe Gaither Show. I will have something prepared for you on Thursday. I don't think I will be live, but I'll have something prepared for you on Thursday. We want to encourage you guys to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or on Amazon. Subscribe, rate, review the show. We got one more subscriber. Hit the subscribe button over the weekend. So I really, really appreciate you guys who do that. And every time I see a new subscriber join, I get very, very excited, very, very happy. Very thankful for you guys for watching us this week. Telling everybody about the show, interacting online. CJ Watson jumping in on the comments. This year's team, especially since A&M has played as a team. There may have been better players recently, but this second half of the season of this Bama team has been very special. It's been really fun to watch. I totally agree with you, CJ. The cohesion, the chemistry on this team has been a lot of fun to enjoy. I think they're really enjoying themselves. Cornelius chiming in, this team is having fun. Absolutely. And the fun exudes itself through the television screen and into Bryant-Denny Stadium, hopefully into your living rooms, wherever you're watching the games, and you're able to enjoy the year. And hopefully the fun continues from past the next 2 weeks. So we definitely have 2 more weeks. There are 2 more huge weeks. Oh, let me know how you're feeling about this Iron Bowl over in our comment section at Joe Gaither 6 on all of the social media machines. Make sure you subscribe to our other BamaCentral Broadcasting Network podcasts. Our friends, Blue Collar Unplugged, Matthew Gibson, Blake Byler, and Jacob Pickle, bringing you Alabama basketball each and every week. We'll talk to Trevor Relaford later on in the week. We'll talk to a correspondent from Missouri and Mississippi State, find out what in the world's going to go on with the Egg Bowl, and just have a great week right here on the Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral and BamaCentral.com.